Another episode of The Survivor's Voice. Thank you for joining us tonight. This series has been so amazing. You guys have been showing up for us, and I'm so very thankful to you all. I'm so very grateful to you all for continuing to support the moms. I want to say moms now because next week is going to be spectacular. We have dads coming in because our dads have been also affected, right? So we include our dads here because that's the only way that we can start to see changes, right? When we start to stop the bleeding is when we come together as a community and really start to support one another. Without further ado, I'm going to quickly introduce who's going to be on with us tonight. This is a woman that I have been speaking with. Aaliyah passed in July, and then I got a message from Miss Adrian Demby to tell me about her son who was also shot in the city. And so we have been building a relationship and just sharing stories and our frustrations, right? And so that's what the Survivor's Voice is for, bringing us together. So I'm going to go ahead and add Adrian to the chat. Join us. I want to thank you guys for coming back. Just 2 days ago we did this, and I tell you guys, it's pretty draining to talk about some of these hard things that we have to talk about, right? Because it's the hardest thing to do, but we absolutely have to talk about it. You know, when if you have been in this area in Baltimore, please guys, our story has been in the news again today. And so that has been really taxing, right? Really unnerving for me all morning. I had to deal with people coming at me asking for comments and that sort of thing. And, you know, it's just something that we, this is our real life, right? This is our real life. And unfortunately, like, I would have never asked for any of this, like, ever. But it is a constant reality that this is where we are. Hello there.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm okay.
You're okay. I know that is a strange question, right? Because how do we answer that? You know, we do the best that we can. For the most part, we say, you know, we're doing the best that we can. I want to, I've already introduced who you are. Well, would you please just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Ryan.
My name is Adrian Demby, and my son was 23, Ryan Demby. Graduated from college and went to become a Howard County Deputy Sheriff because his major goal was to play professional golf, which he was on his way to. And my son went out with some friends, and he never came back. He never came back. 40-year-old man shot and killed him, and we still don't know why. We don't know why. So it's a major loss for me because he was my youngest. And, you know, you would think that our children would be out here and they would be safe and people would have regards for life, but nobody has any regards for life anymore. And that's the sad part. And our children are suffering for that. Those are the pieces of the puzzle that kind of bothers me. And I was born and raised in the city. And people back then, they cared about your well-being, because if the neighbor around the corner saw you doing something, she's going to send you home to your mother and you're going to be in trouble. However, now it's kind of difficult because if you say something to the wrong person's child, it's a problem. So I think that the community has gotten away from parents and other parents cohabitating together to kind of bring these children to some happy
together.
Yeah.
Right. The community helping to raise our children instead. You know, and I talk about this with my husband all the time. Instead, everybody's like, mind your business, you know, just mind your business and just keep walking past people as if they don't exist. And unfortunately, when you keep walking past people who already feel like they don't exist, you feed into that, you know, that spirit that they don't matter, right? And so this is a problem for our community. So I thank you for sharing that. Now, Ryan, as you shared with me, he was a deputy sheriff
in Howard County. Yeah,
in Howard County. And his shooting was when again?
It was the 29th of September. Yeah, it was actually 12 midnight on that Thursday. So technically, that Friday morning, I got a call from his friend, and his friend said that there was an altercation in the bar. They left the bar, and somehow or another, I have no clue why or what happened once they got outside. My son just didn't make it home. He stood over him and shot him. And from what I saw in a video, which I probably shouldn't have seen the video, but I did, so that stays with me for the rest of my son was laying in the gutter. My problem with the whole thing, and I did discuss this before, Baltimore City police officers. They looked at my child just like they look at most people's children that don't look like they come from a lot of different whatever. My son had clothes on, but however, to them, he was just another black kid that's down there doing something he probably had no business doing, which makes me annoyed because they never knew that he was a Howard County Deputy Sheriff because somebody stole his badge off of him. They took his badge. They said he didn't have a gun on him. We got to the hospital, he did have a gun on him. They found his gun, so that just let me and my husband know they never touched him. My husband was a police officer for Baltimore County for over 30-some years. He retired, couldn't stay retired, and went to Howard County. After my son graduated high school, graduated college, he said, I think I'm going to do that for a little bit, and then, golf will be my life. And he did. And 6 months on the job, he dies. My son was only a deputy sheriff for 6 months.
And that's one of the things that I struggle with the most is it's anybody, it's everybody, right? Unfortunately, like, there's a saying in the streets, right? The bullets have no names. They absolutely don't. But here's the thing, there's no conflict resolution either. There's only putting people down, which is, like I said, I've said so many times, it's so permanent. It's so permanent. Such a temporary feeling or temporary situation can end up being so permanent and affecting the lives of many. You talked about how Ryan, and I don't want to get too graphic and into details. I'm very sensitive with how I speak about our babies, right? Because I know what it was like for me. So what stood out to me is when you mentioned that no one ever checked, touched, looked to see who he was. They just kind of like summed him up as just a regular, how do
And
you
to
feel
me,
about
something, to me, it doesn't matter whether he came from a family that's
say
of
that
two working parents or whether he came from a mother.
again?
Because
Because I know.
to me, I look at it two ways because I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I was a single mom too before I married my husband, and he and I had our child. However, it still doesn't matter what graphic you come from. It still doesn't matter that you have to be treated totally different. So once they found out that my husband was a police, the the spectrum changed. Why? Why? No matter what. So would you have treated him different if you didn't know that he was a Howard County Deputy Sheriff? That's sickening to me because children are children. Our black kids are dying in the street left and right. Then you have some that I think what bothers me the most is you got some mothers that unfortunately they don't know how to be mothers, and that's sad too because then they're trying to figure it out. And figuring it out, sometimes the children are running rampant and they don't know what to do, especially women raising male children. If you're not tough, you have a hard time raising a male child. I listened to the lady the other day. I felt her pain so much. So much. I told my husband, I said, it bothers me to look and see that just because you don't have the right address or the right bank account, they treat you so different. That's so unfair.
That resonates with me, and we've had these conversations before. When I think about Brooklyn Day, everything you said is so spot on, and I say this many times. I wouldn't care if Aaliyah was in a block party in the Hollywood Hills or Brooklyn. You didn't care enough to check on her
Exactly.
and the others. You know what I mean? So um, this is why we do these series, because somehow, some way, someone will hear.
Yeah.
And this is not to condemn, but it really is to fix, because again, I am so solution focused. Like, all of the back and forth serves no one. In fact, more people are dying because you continue to go back and forth. How do we move forward? So one thing, oh, hey, my son just joined. Hello.
Oh,
One thing that I want to talk about more is community. You also mentioned that a lot of times um, mothers are, some oftentimes forced to raise their children and on their own, you know, and they have a hard time with not having the right tools and resources. And as we talked about before, like, I'm looking for a way that we can cultivate community
yeah.
for those women, just to have a space. Because back in the day, we used to always be able to come together, fellowship. We would have food. We would be able to discuss women's issues, right? We
Right.
discuss with our children that we're having, with our spouses, we're having, whatever have you. So one of the primary things that I would love to see is how we women can go ahead and cultivate that community. And if you guys are interested in anything that I just said, please reach out to redirectingourculture.org and let me know. You can private inbox me and your information, and we can absolutely get that started, because it's
It
needed,
is.
right?
It is.
Um,
Very much so.
I want to talk about the policing. Um, I don't want to move too quickly before we go there, because this happened in Fells Point. I've been to Fells Point many times, and I see heavy police activity, heavy police presence, I want to say, in Fells Point. How do you feel like that factored in with
There were
what?
none the night that there were none when Ryan was down there.
Okay.
It wasn't any in the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and there were these bouncers that he allowed his crew to come in with, and they were armed. From what his friend said, they were armed. So you let them in. So I blame the establishment because of who you're hiring. You're hiring somebody to, I get it, but if they're the wrong people, then you're liable for somebody's life. And they were liable for my son's life. This establishment that had someone that, from what I was hearing, they beat people up and this, that, and the other. Well, you shot mine. You killed him. And they saw the conversation between the two people, and it's like, okay, and I'm like, you couldn't just talk to him, or you couldn't say, okay, look, enough is enough, or whatever. Beat him up. Don't shoot him. Don't kill him. But it's permanent. I don't understand why we look at life that way. And all we're doing is, unfortunately, we're teaching these young kids the same way. We're teaching them the same way. It's so wrong. It's so wrong to me, because first of all, you got little kids that they don't know how to have resolutions to their conflicts. It's one of those things where they want to attack. Okay, you looked at me wrong, so therefore I'm going to fight. That makes no sense to me. We got to redirect our children, because what I see now is the black children are dying in leaps and bounds. The black communities are dying off, and nobody cares. We don't even care. It's sad, because we're the ones that's supposed to be caring about the black community, because that's what we are. We're sitting here and we're white people sitting back going, okay, another one. That's unfair. When are we going to realize that we have to come together like we were before? When Big Mama sent your child home, you get on your child too, because Big Mama saw him around the corner doing what wasn't supposed to do. Now you say something to somebody's child, it's like, what you talking to my child like that for? Well, your child was doing something wrong. It takes a village. It's never taken one person. It takes a village to raise these children. And these children need somebody that's going to be there. Why is there a 13-year-old out here stealing cars? Makes no sense. It's sick. When are we going to get it in our brains that as mothers, as fathers, as black men, black women, we gotta gravitate. Now people are so afraid to talk to these young teenagers. It's sad. I don't care. I'll say something. My husband said, you better stop talking to people. I don't care. That's just my personality. Because maybe that day I talk to one that will listen. I don't know. But I don't think that any child should be thrown away or thrown to the wayside because of the fact he doesn't have the right tools. I raise my children on this thing called the toolbox analogy. You're only as good as the tools that you have in your toolbox. You have to discard those old tools and collect new ones along the way. We don't. We keep those same rusty tools, expecting them for them to work, and they don't work. They don't work anymore. So I'm at a loss, and I'm sure that there are many, many mothers out there that's at a loss. And I'm tired of watching people cry.
Right.
I used to
Right.
sit before my son was murdered. I used to say, "Oh my God, what can I do to help that person?" Now I'm one of those
That's
people.
something. Isn't that something? Because I was in the same, wave as you. You see it happening so often that you can't help but to feel empathy. And how would I be if that was me? And it turns out that happens to be your life.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy because even with waking up this morning and having to see my baby's face on the news again, it's like I can't believe like this is my life. I can't believe it, right?
yeah.
So you mentioned something, and this is the reason why we have like two this week, because when I talked to you, I felt your pain, I felt your anger, and I felt your frustration, right? I felt all of it because I know what that is, right?
Yeah.
You talked about how there was correction, and it's so interesting how I just found one of my Facebook memories, and I was teaching my youngest son about manners, right? How he needs to say excuse me if he's going to interject into the conversation. So he used that tool and from his toolbox the next day, and I mentioned that correction is a form of love and discipline, right? Disciplining your children is a form of love. Now, I'm not saying do anything that's going to be, beating up your child. That's not,
Detrimental to that
you are
child.
not
Yeah.
correcting, right? If you're not disciplining your children, that is not love. That's not, it doesn't take away the love. That actually is an act of love because you're preparing them, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I wanted to not fly by, but there's a, when you mentioned how the community came together, if you saw something and Big Mama caught you doing something, right down the line, people were, telling your mama about what happened. So, we may not get that. We may not get that all the way back, right? But I think that there's enough people that have been really angry and upset that this is a perfect time for us to start doing what we can do, right? Because it only takes, it takes you to just start to do something, and it's a ripple
Yeah.
effect. It really
Yeah.
is. And one of the other things I want to go over is that we got to be very careful, because if we're not stepping in and changing things, what will happen is regular citizens who are not perpetrators now are forced to defend themselves, and now before you attack me, I'm going to shoot you. So now you're putting us in a position, right, that we can go to
Exactly.
jail because we're defending ourselves. And this is why
Exactly.
it's so important that they get a hold of this crime, because nobody else is going to take this any longer. And now, so what that looks like is that, the minute our young offenders or anyone else who is threatening us, now we are being forced to defend ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Now we have a case against us. Isn't that something?
Exactly.
Isn't that
That is.
something? So,
It's sad. It's sad.
yeah, it is sad.
I think, Crystal, also that, when you look at these children and I'm sitting back sometimes, I'm like, how in the world does these kids get their hands on guns
Oh, yeah.
so easily? But
Yeah.
however, you can go out online and you can order a gun.
Mhm.
It's not like it used to be. You had to have permits and things like that. It's not like it used to be. So
Yeah.
what are you saying to these children? This is the way you handle a conflict.
Mhm.
Somebody makes you mad, you just go ahead and you shoot them. That makes no sense. Makes no sense. And then they grow up to be bigger, they grow up to be adult offenders.
Mhm.
So what do you do? What do we literally do with what these moms are sitting here? And there was a group that I recently went to, and I listened to some parents. I'm blessed because some of those moms, it's been 16, 17, 20 years, nobody knows who murdered their children. I have no clue what I would do if nobody had ever found out who murdered my child. I'd be a basket case. I wouldn't be on here talking to you because I would be everything. I'd be looking over my shoulder all the time. Did you do it? Did you do it? I don't understand. It's like, how can people live with the fact that nothing, they'll have no closure? Because there's no closure. There's no closure that you're looking all the time. You're saying, wow, it's been 16 years. Nobody has solved my son's murder or my daughter's murder. I'm just one of the ones that's a little blessed. And then I asked myself, is it because he was a deputy sheriff that they found it so quick? You know? But then I have to understand also that no, it's not. This person was just one of those people that was arrogant, and they caught him because of cameras. Where were these cameras at all along? These cameras should have been downtown everywhere all along. Then maybe a lot of people's children wouldn't have been dead. They'd have been alive. It's needed. The cameras are needed all over the place. You know, and then we need, to me, I think sometimes the representatives don't understand. You know, we 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 elect people into these positions, but we never know whether they're doing the right thing or whether they're doing the wrong thing. So it's so hard for me. It's hard. It's really hard because there's so much I have to say, and there's so much I want to say to elected officials that I see. You're at this party or this soiree or this, but somebody's child is dead. I don't know. I don't know. I get upset with that kind of stuff because I just think that people have no empathy. It goes on so much. It's like, okay, another child was murdered today. Where's the empathy? That's not another child. That's somebody's baby. I don't get it. I just don't understand it anymore. I don't.
No. Ty says they don't understand until it's them, and you're absolutely right. And statistically speaking, it will be them. This is just a matter of time. It's
And
just
that's
a
the
matter of
truth.
time. It will be them. Unfortunately, that's where we are, and I don't wish that on anybody. I'm telling you, statistically speaking, it will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And
And,
yeah,
you
until
know,
it.
Crystal, I think sometimes um, moms, some moms that don't have that support system and that help, man, are they struggling.
Mhm,
You're struggling to raise this male child, to get this male child to point A to point B.
mhm,
It's like you're always on edge because you're like, okay, is he doing what he's supposed to do? Is he at school? I'm at work and I'm trying to make a living for us and I'm struggling, but yet you got to worry about whether or not your child's going to come home and get mixed up with the wrong people and do the wrong thing because it doesn't have the right tennis shoes or doesn't have the right outfit.
mhm.
It's so unfortunate.
It is
I just think,
unfortunate. I'm sorry. I didn't want to move past that, but I just spoke with some guy today, and he spoke a very valid point, and I'll repeat what was said. But when you are being raised in a household where your dad is not involved, right? There is there is there's a desire. There's always going to be a desire, right, to have that father male figure in your life. So no matter how hard mom is working, no matter how hard, there's always going to be that link, that longing for that male figure. So what
yeah,
we're doing, we're seeing, and this is not anything new, many of us know this, is that they're getting influenced when they get out there in the street. And now there's this brotherhood and this false reality of security there. And this is it, like, it bothers me so much that there's so many choices that are being made,
yeah,
and we have a whole generation of kids that are lost and just looking for love and validation, and they're
yep.
finding it in all the wrong places. Wow. Wow.
So my question to a lot of moms that's out here that's like that, and you and I, we march for different things. We walk, we stand for different things. But to me, all women have to sit back and realize that we got to march for our children at this point, because they're lost and we're losing them. They're losing them leaps and bounds, and nobody really cares, because once the funeral is over, the accolades, oh, this child died, and this, that, and the other, it's gone. It's gone. The time when my son was murdered was almost the same time that I forgot the young lady that got killed downtown. And
The tech CEO,
yeah,
Tyler Perry.
I think about that situation, and I think about some of these other situations with Black children.
Yeah.
A lot of things wasn't said, aren't going to be said. They're going to talk about it a few minutes and then it's over. But that's still somebody's child, regardless of whether it's a tech CEO or what it is. It's still a person. I guess humanity has gone to crap. It's like people don't care about the human life anymore. It's like, whatever. It's just another life. Just another life. It's gone, but whatever. I don't see where the empathy is gone. It's gone.
It really is, because no matter how much I do and how busy I am, at the end of the day, I still every single day wake up to the fact, like, Aaliyah was here 1 minute and now gone the next minute. Like, how does that, you can't reconcile that. You talked about Ryan's dog the other day.
Yeah.
That broke my heart. It really
Yeah.
did. Because not only are we dealing with human emotion, but you'll realize, yeah, and I don't want to tell the story for you, but that really touched me. If you want to share, you can. That's a
I got, because Ryan was the only one of our children that was home, we got him a dog when he was 9. He was 8 years old when we purchased him a dog. And so the dog's been with him a long time. And my dog is still looking for him. He goes in his room late at night and he cries. He sits out in the hall. It's like a human being. He sits and he cries. He just cries and cries and cries. And then he'll come and he'll get back in his bed. Then 1 o'clock in the morning, he's up again, because he knows that sometimes those are the times that he comes home from work. So he's standing and he looks for him and he doesn't come in and he cries. So my dog is on antidepressants. A dog is on antidepressants because he's so depressed that he's 14.
We can communicate with a human being, right?
Yeah.
But you can't really communicate with a dog that he's not coming back.
No.
And he's still looking for him.
He's still looking for him. And it has really destroyed a lot for me, because the person that my husband used to be, very kind-hearted and very soft, not anymore.
No.
That person's gone.
No.
And I think the worst part of this, I have to sit in court with this person and look at his face. That's going to be hard for somebody like me. I'm a mama bear.
Yeah.
And I've got to hold my composure, because I don't want it to be where, wow, look at this crazy person in here. Yeah, I am crazy. I feel real good and crazy. My son was a preemie, and he came a whole month early, and they kept saying, oh, he's going to have this problem. He had no problems at all, nothing. Very strong, healthy, feisty little kid. So I don't, there are really no words. Day by day, I go by and I'm like, okay, he's not coming in here, Adrian. He's not coming home. And that's the hardest part for me, to not see him come through that door. I just didn't expect it. My son, that next Friday, my son was due to turn 24, the 24th birthday. We had to go visit him at a grave for his 24th birthday. The worst thing in the world to do. The worst thing. I wouldn't wish that on any parent, that they would have to do that. And like I said, I used to sympathize with parents. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do. I know now. I'm in the same ship. And there are days when I feel like I'm going to sink. The only thing that keeps me up is my other 2 children, my granddaughter, my grandson. That's it. My children. They keep me up. Because otherwise I don't know. I would never be one of those people that would say I would just, and I told my husband I just want to be with him. I want to be with Ryan. And people probably can't understand that.
They
But
can't. You know it. You know, again, that's something else we talked about. And then you talk about having other children.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
no replacing any of them.
nope,
So I know I have other children, but that doesn't mean I don't want to be with her too.
yeah,
You know, like there's no this separation here is just such an unfair ask, right?
it is. Yeah, yeah. All I say to the moms that's out here, do what you gotta do. Grab a hold of your children. I don't care what you have to do. Grab a hold of these kids and say, hey, we can't continue. You can't be with this friend because this friend's not good for you. Because the friends will be the ones that will make it so you won't see your child. Especially if you got a child that's very impressionable. They get mixed up with the wrong people and they go down that rabbit hole. You can't save them after they go down that rabbit hole. That's the scary part for me. That's the scary part, and I sympathize because you got young moms out here that's trying to do the right thing. That dad says, oh, I don't want to be a father anymore. It's up to you. Sad, because these men, I hold them accountable too. You had a part in this. So you stand by what's yours. And sometimes they walk away. But then we are left to be strong. We're left to raise a male. Children don't come with a set of instructions on how to raise them at all. I wish they did, but they don't. So I don't know. I
You said
totally.
from
Whew,
the time I talked to you, my heart has just been with you because everything you say resonates with me to the core. We have a lot of similarities, and I just want to thank you for just your outpouring of pure honesty,
yeah,
pure
yeah,
honesty that comes from a place that I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with this deep-seated pain that won't go away.
yeah,
No matter what you do, no matter how busy you are, no matter how it just won't go away,
yeah,
right? And it
yeah.
never gets easier.
I
And
wish.
I
I
thank
wish
you.
it would. It's so funny, Crystal. When I saw you and I saw what happened to your daughter, I said, "Oh my God, I don't know what I would do."
Mm-hmm.
September,
Mm-hmm.
it's
That's
mine.
you. Yeah, that's happened to me a lot. I've had a lot of moms contacted me and saw my story and said the same thing, and their child was shot
Yeah,
after Alicia. It is, I can't make this up if I tried. I can't do it. I
but
can't do it.
to all of these mothers that's out here, I believe in God heavy. And, my mother used to say, God makes no mistakes. I just didn't understand why that
Yeah.
way. However, it's one of those things where my son, the 2 days with my son and the funeral, the day of the wake was the sunniest days I've ever seen. His funeral was the sunniest, brightest day I've ever